Hello YouTube, it is I, Vincent, back again with yet another video. This one's gonna be a little bit different. Today I'm gonna be talking about something that I've been kind of wondering for a long time that I never really knew the answer to until right now, and I figured I'd make a whole video about it. And that question that I will be answering today is, why doesn't Fender sue people to the same capacity that Gibson does? It is no surprise to anybody that in the past few years that Gibson has been particularly litigious, to say the least, with suing a lot of brands. And I always wondered why Fender doesn't do the same thing with their shapes. After all, the two brands are arguably equally as iconic in American history, with the Strat and the Les Paul both fighting for the hearts of guitar players everywhere. So why doesn't Fender go for people for using the Stratocaster shape the same way that Gibson would go for people for using the Les Paul shape? To make a long story short, it's almost entirely based on trademarks. Gibson owns trademarks on their body shapes, whereas Fender does not. They only own trademarks on their headstock shapes. But let's dive a little bit deeper into why that is the case. By the time that both Fender and Gibson established the electric guitar as the new hot instrument, many guitar brands were already making their own iterations on those shapes. The main difference between Fender and Gibson is that Fender was relatively permissive in letting people use their body shapes, whereas Gibson actively went after people for using their body shapes, even though they didn't technically own their trademark until 1987. Fender primarily focused on their headstock being their signature key feature of their guitar. Even if the guitar shapes were the same between different brands, the headstock was that signature piece that made a Fender a Fender. That's how you would distinguish a Fender from something like a Charvel or a Jackson. Gibson viewed the entire guitar as their image. If you're gonna copy somebody, copy Fender, who doesn't actively sue you for using the Strat or Telecaster shapes. Fast forward to 1987, Gibson actually filed for trademarks for their guitar shapes. And because they have set the precedent of them actually going for people for using those guitar designs, they got the trademark in 1993 and have successfully been able to defend said trademarks in multiple cases. Most recently in 2022 against Dean Guitars, where the courts ruled that the guitar shapes are distinctive enough to classify for trademark. However, that does not mean that Fender has not tried to establish a trademark in the past for their shapes. Most notably in 2009, they tried to file trademarks for their P-Bass, their Stratocaster, and their Telecaster shapes, notably going after big guitar brands like Schecter and ESP, who at this point in time have been making Strat clones for close to, or probably over 2 decades at this point. But at this point in time, Fender has gone over 50 years without ever establishing their shapes as a trademark or ever protecting these shapes. So the courts ruled in favor of the other brands and not in Fender, and they did not get the trademark, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for all the other brands. So what all this basically boils down to is that Gibson has the ability to go after guitar makers for using their shapes, both body and headstock, whereas Fender only has the ability to go after people for using their headstock shapes, which is the main reason why you see the old Charvels using their own shapes, but after they got acquired by Fender, they started using the normal Stratocaster and Telecaster headstocks. However, even if Fender did own the trademarks, there's another reason why they probably wouldn't want to start suing every single guitar maker under the sun. The brand image for Fender is a lot more favorable in the eyes of guitarists currently than it is for Gibson, and a big part of that is the amount of lawsuits that Gibson has levied against countless other brands, not limited to, but including Kiesel, ESP, PRS, Dean, Jericho, Ibanez, Guitar Hero, and Funko. And that's not even all of them, that's just the ones that I have written right here. But I can make an entire video on the companies that Gibson has sued in the past. That's not the point of this video. The point of all this is that all those lawsuits kind of compound on each other and make Gibson look like an extremely aggressive and litigious company. And they just seem really smug, for lack of a better term. Even though they do have the right to enforce these trademarks, the fact that they do it so aggressively makes them look bad, and then by comparison, Fender looks a lot more chill. Even though Fender doesn't have the same capabilities as Gibson to sue people, the fact that Gibson is always in the spotlight for suing people makes people think that Fender is a lot more chill in comparison. But that will be all for this video. A little bit short, a little bit different. I thought this would be something fun that I would kind of explore doing these little mini video essays. I hope you guys enjoyed learning why Fender and Gibson are very, very different in their approaches with litigation. I had a lot of fun learning about this. I had no idea about a lot of these things regarding trademark law. And frankly, I don't understand a lot of it, but it makes a lot more sense to me now. This kind of video is a little bit different for me. I've never really done this type of video essay format, so bear with me if it's a little bit rough around the edges. But if you guys enjoyed this or found it informative in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe for more videos like this in the future. But with all of that being said, I have said my piece, and I hope that you guys join me for the next one. Peace out.
I'm almost free, I'm